Quiet.
So we will eventually get to some pieces that somebody besides us knows, but we're not going to get there just yet. So my number's been called again once more time. I'm going to play a couple of kind of Latin flavored contra dance tunes I wrote. And the first one's called The Maracas of My Heart. And the second is Hot Springs Eternal. And the odd thing about the maracas, I'll tell the story about how that tune came about. It was after the movie Buena Vista Social Club came out. I remember every gig I played with Anita after that, whenever she sat down at the piano, she'd start playing the chords to Chan Chan, which was it's the first tune that appears in that movie, and it's kind of. And so that was kind of in my head, and and I just had this notion that maybe there's a contradance tune with that riff in it somewhere. And the strange thing is, I finished this tune while trekking in the Himalayas, so I was actually nowhere near Cuba when I wrote it. Anyway, so this is called The Maracas of My Heart, and it's followed by one of those tunes, and I see that my strap has decided to detach itself. Just a sec. The title of the second tune, it was just one of those random brainwave things where I thought hot springs, and I thought hot springs eternal. So you'll have to excuse me while I untangle my strap and my cord. I'm afraid my instruments are betraying me a little bit here. Talk among yourselves. And away we go.
Okay.
I'll play as
Thank you for that. Got a new tune that we're premiering tonight that I got from a Belgian band called Narragonia. Heavy on the button accordion, but we won't be using that tonight. It is a French style waltz, which means it's a lot faster than you're used to. You can still dance to it. You might not find that a rotary waltz works quite as easily. And it's called Samen op de Tractor, written by Toon van Mierle.
And it's in D minor with a section in D major. tune because we care. We're going to play a medley of 3 French-Canadian reels. 2 of them come from French Canada, the other from Seattle. So the first is called Reel de Marois. It's by Richard Fauré, I think. And the second is Saute le Pan, composer unknown. And the last by Yours Vraiment. It's called La Poutine Souriante. And you just have to imagine or provide yourself the Quebecois feet, as the grass is a little soft for that. So, oh yes, the keys are E minor, G major, and the last one's in D, but it starts in A bit like the telephone tune. You can start. So the next one is Anita's, and I'll let her introduce it. The wind is blowing over by the piano.
Okay. I have a habit when I'm stuck for a tune idea to use phone numbers. You take the 7 numbers of a phone number, translate them into scale notes, and those have to be the first 7 notes of the tune. It's a game, it's a trick, it's a way to get the creative stuff going. And I had Susan Amato's phone number here, and it was a little difficult. Didn't seem like it was going to turn into anything, but I played it as a reel, I played it as a jig, I played it as a waltz, and what it wanted to be was a rumba. So, calling Susan.
We're going to shift gears a little bit and play a couple of jigs. So we're going to flop Bronwyn. Excellent. The first one is written by Ryan McCassin for one of his daughters. It's called Bronwyn Lee. And we're going to follow that with a tune of mine. The title actually, I think, came from Claude originally. It's the title tune from the still in existence, in case there's any rumors, KGB's third album. It's called In From the Cold, which of course came from the spy who came in from the cold. That as well.
Keys?
Oh yes, so Ryan's tune, Brahman Lee, is in F sharp minor, and In From the Cold is in A major. thank you. So I think we have time for one or two more. And we'll do one and then we'll see where we are. So this is a couple of what we like to call halftime tunes, which I guess means it'd be suitable for marching bands during football games. But no, that's not actually what we mean. And so they're played kind of in halftime with a backbeat, but they still serve for contra dances. So the first one is something I wrote called Waimea. And after I wrote it, I realized the first half sounds a little bit like the English country dance tune Child Grove, except it's in D mixolydian instead of A minor, and the B part's totally different, and just never mind that. Anyway, we're going to follow that with a tune of Pete Sutherland's called Choral Riff, which also has a similar feel, and it is in E minor. I think I'll just start this out. I'll start this out with a vamp. So as soon as the vamp arrives, we'll get going. So I think this may be break time.
Oh, thank you. This is just fabulous. It is so wonderful to hear this music, an incredible variety, and just really moves me, and such wonderful feelings we all have when we get together like this. So thank you so much for making this all possible.
Sorry.
I wanted to remind folks that there is information in the chat um, box about tips, and that all of your tips tonight go to the band, and they've decided to donate them to nonprofits in the Portland area who serve people of color and are involved in low-income housing and other really important initiatives. So we thank the band so much for that. I want to announce to all of you that we know who is going to be playing next month. And so on Sunday, September 20th, we'll have Countercurrent. And you all probably know them. We just adore Alex Sturbaum and Brian Lindsay, fiddle and guitar and vocals and foot percussion. And it's amazing how two people can get so much great music going. And so we will so enjoy having them. Again, they'll be playing up in somebody's room or somebody's backyard in Seattle, because we don't think that the work will be ready at Fulton Hall, but we're hoping that by October or sometime in the fall, we'll get back in Fulton Hall and be able to broadcast to the place from the place where we regularly dance. In fact, we're usually there every Saturday night, kicking up our heels, like I know so many of you are also. I want to have a big shout out again to the band. This is such wonderful music. Dave Bartley and Anita Anderson and Claude Ginsberg, just enjoying this music so much that they're creating for us. A big shout out also to Alan Roberts. I'm reading the chat. Alan, people are just wowed by the sound, even on Zoom, and we know it's great over at YouTube Live. So delighted that all of you are here tonight with us to enjoy this. And also want to say thank you to all the co-hosts and all the people who've been working on this. Kim Appleberry, Christine Appleberry, William Watson, Ann Noakes, Curtis Roth. They've all been putting in lots of overtime on the Contra Committee to make this happen. And so I see that the band is moving away. I'm done with my announcements, but I think they need a little bit of a break. I am so hot from dancing, and I'm indoors with the air conditioning and the fan. I cannot imagine what it's like out there playing, but I've made all the announcements I need to make. Again, if you did not get this directly from our own mailing list and you want to be added to our mailing list so you don't miss the one on September 20th and you can get the Zoom link, then please send an email to the email address that's going to be in the chat box. We're also on Facebook. Portland Country Dance is on Facebook, and we also have a website, and the information is there for you to get the Zoom link. We don't send the Zoom link out on social media because we are concerned about everyone's security, and so it goes out by email. That's all the announcements I have to make right now. Didn't see anything from my crew that I need to announce, but let's get back to the music.
Well, you and I can start this.
Okay.
Alrighty then. So I think we'll get started, and Claude will just drop in when he gets back. This is something you might know. We're gonna play it slowly, and then we're gonna play it faster. It's by George Reynolds. It's called Rainy Night in Montague, and it's in a sort of D modal.
next, right?
That's right. We're going to play a swing tune next, and we'll have Claude introduce it.
Yeah, this is Honeysuckle Rose, which is a well-known swing tune by Fats Waller, and it was written for a musical that he did called Load of Coal, which is probably not a name that would really go down all that great today, but
It was one of those high carbon footprint.
it apparently
musicals.
also Ain't Misbehavin' was written for the same musical. And those two tunes were probably some of the most famous tunes that Fats Waller ever wrote. And they were recorded by Fletcher Henderson,
Okay, we're gonna shift gears again. Who knew? We just keep putting you through so many changes. We're gonna play in the world of G Mixolydian, a jig, and I guess you could call it a reel. The first one, and I wrote them both. First one's called Chimney Pond. And the second is called Kirtan. It was kind of inspired by ecstatic yoga chant, kirtans. And anyway, we play them for kind of trancey dances. So feel free to go into a hypnotic state, assuming you know how to exit it at the end of the set. Now we're going to play a couple of sort of Latin waltzes. They were again written in Seattle. So yeah, I guess I could. So the first one's called Gracia, and it was actually written for Lynn Ackerson down in the Bay Area. And the second is called Claude's Waltz. Claude's Waltz. It wasn't written by Claude, but it was written for Claude. First tune is in B minor, and the second one is in E minor. Though I realize these are not either in the waltz books or the Portland collections, or anyway, but try to follow along anyway.
Good luck.
See. That had a complicated roadmap,
We
and
did not have the same roadmap. I think there were 3 different roadmaps.
so that was our exploration of the Charles Ives School of South American Music,
Yes.
and we're going to move on to
You know,
a couple of, I guess, 3 bourrées. The first one is called the Randonneur de Rufillac. It's in the key of F. The second is the Bourrée d'Istanbul in the key of A whatever. And we're going to end with Incunabula, which is also in sort of a different A whatever. One, two, three. Well, I think we have time for a couple more.
Yeah, 49.
Yeah.
So trails and then brush and then digs?
Um, yeah, so say Trails End?
Which ones? The
Trails end and then the jigs.
Trails End?
Yeah. So we're going to play a waltz in E minor. It's called Trails End. This is the waltz that didn't make it onto the KGB waltz album Red Light of Evening because we were saving it for another CD, which 11 years later we haven't recorded. And it was written. There's a hike up by Mount Baker from Artist's Point, the road that goes up to where the Mount Baker ski area is, up in the North Cascades, close to the Canadian border. And there are 3 trails that lead from that parking lot, and one of them goes to a place called Ptarmigan Ridge. And it starts as a kind of an ordinary trail. There are often snow patches lingering into September there, so sometimes you're crossing snow. But the trail kind of gets sketchier and sketchier, and we were talking to before Mary and I went and hiked the trail, we were talking to a friend, Stan Rauscher. And he said, well, how do you know when you get to the end of the trail? And he said, when you get there, you will know. And basically the trail ends up on a knife edge ridge that then stops, and basically in all directions except for the one you came from, it drops several hundred feet down to Glacier. So it's very clearly the trail's end. And that's where this name came from.
Waltz is not that dramatic.
That's true. There's no big drop-offs in the melody or anything. I'll play the melody the first time. Yeah. Start as in. So I think we have time for one more set. And Anita is going to describe this set of jigs, which comes from the Bag of Tricks Tricky Brits
Yeah.
recording done, oh heavens, close to 20 years ago now.
It is 20 years ago. Yeah, yeah. Major jigs, big jigs. Starts off with a tune that I wrote called Coriolis because it goes round and round. And the second tune, Midnight Couchette, is something that Dave Bartley wrote, I believe, after a difficult and bouncy train trip. Would that be about right?
Yeah, it was actually it was an overnight train from Cologne in Germany down to Basel in Switzerland. And I think we got on the train about midnight and we had couchettes. So in theory, we could sleep on the way down.
In theory.
But then, of course, the train stopped and people got on at 2 in the morning and got off at 4 in the morning. And so it was a much interrupted sleep. And we arrived in Basel, I think, probably 6 or 7 in the morning. But
Oh, lovely.
those are the days, you know, that particular trip, we were in Europe for 3.5 weeks and we rode, I believe, 4 overnight trains. It was packing a lot in.
Yeah. The third tune is called Brushfire by Dave Weisler. And the fourth, Myra's Jig by Ian Lothian. Great, big A tune.
So it's like E minor, A something, A minor, and A major.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Thank
And
you
as
very
they said
much.
in the movie Let It Be, thank you very much, and I hope we passed the audition.
And we have lots of people to thank. Alan, of course, and Sandy,
Yes. Alan.
Kim, Appleberry.
And
Um,
everybody on the committee
Yes.
in
Yes.
Portland.
and some of the pioneers of this forum, Claire Takamori and Eric Black, who taught a lot of us how this is supposed to go.
Yes, Anita, thank you so much. And we have you, the three of you, to thank. I mean, this has just been an incredible evening. Thank you so much for providing this for us. And I wonder if Alan's neighbors are having a good time on the other side of that hedge listening to the music.
We just heard them applauding. So
Oh, good,
we
good.
didn't scare them off. Of course, where would they go?
That's wonderful. Well, I think that we can, if you want to unmute yourself, the people who are on Zoom, I know we have a lot of people at YouTube Live, but those on Zoom, if you want to unmute yourself and give them a big cheer, because this has just been the most amazing concert. So
This has just been the most amazing.
right, great.
Oh.
And so I again want to say thank you so much to the committee that helped, and especially to Alan and Sandy for hosting this in their backyard, and Alan doing so much work, and Kim Appleberry too.
This has just been the most amazing.
Great. Well, wow. So, so we've got some time now to talk. Before you all, some of you I know will have to sign off, but I just want to remind you that our next Portland Live will be September 20th. That's also a Sunday. The third Sunday is when we have our events, and Countercurrent is going to be playing. That's Alex Sturbaum on guitar and Brian Lindsay on fiddle. So I know you don't want to miss that. And you can always find us on Facebook and on and you can always find us also on the website. So if you're not, if people could mute themselves again, and so then if people want to speak, we can start talking. But I'm wondering, I need to look to see where the band is, if they're near microphones. And yeah, the band is here. So do people have questions for the band, or what does the band want to say?
I think we've talked more than enough. But we're happy to answer questions.
Right.
Except maybe not ones about why. Why did you do that? I'm not sure we can answer those.
Okay.
On my screen, I can see everybody except Anita, and all the other stuff comes up over Anita. Anybody have a solution for that?
It's over.
Well, there's two different camera views of the band, and if you, it may be as your Zoom chat over her, or it really depends on what your device is, because computers and tablets and iPhones all act a little differently.
It's the tip jar.
The tip jar should be a separate screen up in the corner and not be over anything. Sorry about that.
Is it the strip of pictures of different people?
Yeah, short strip, a small strip.
Yeah, you can drag that around the screen if you grab the top
Oh,
bar with the little buttons in it.
thank
If you
you.
pull it up to the top, it'll go horizontal across the top.
Wow.
You can put it at the bottom, anywhere you
Yeah,
Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much.
that's what I did, and it was between. We had the thing between Dave and Claude the entire time, so it didn't get in the way of anybody.
You also can watch the YouTube recording, and that will not have the tip information blocking any of them.
Go listen to that Latin waltz.
That's no fun.
So I've got a question for the band.
Hey.
I completely loved the phone numbers transcribed into the scale. That was so clever. And I'm wondering if you have any other little tips to, to set off the creativity.
That's my one and only contribution to the technique of tune writing. And not all phone numbers will work. I've had some really screwy ones that just would not turn into tunes.
Yeah,
but they're all
area
worth trying.
codes. Area codes are terrible.
No, don't even do the area code.
At least the old style ones with zeros and ones in the middle.
Okay, I'm trying my phone number in just a minute here.
You should tell them
takes too long, I think. Well, all right. To make a very long story short, I once was jogging and took a major fall and broke my arm, and actually had to be taken to a hospital. And after a whole lot of X-rays and a double hit of morphine, they said, you're free to go. Call somebody. And I had been running without my phone. I had no phone numbers in my head, but I did have a tune written for a local dancer, David Ward. And by singing the tune, I was able to reconstruct his phone number and call him. And he came and got me to the hospital.
There you go.
Yep.
Useful.
That's
Emergency.
brilliant.
So I recommend having all your emergency phone numbers as tunes.
Oh, that's great.
That's assuming that you're able to transcribe them, which wouldn't work for me.
I'm fine.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, well.
So I have a comment for the band. During the first half of the concert, I was multitasking and watching a hockey game while you guys were playing. You guys were the soundtrack to a hockey game. And it turned out waltzes did not work at all, but French Canadian jigs and rumbas worked great going along with hockey players. So if you ever wound up
We'll
doing a
remember that.
soundtrack for a movie, you'll know what to use.
Okay, yeah, it's good to categorize all of our tunes into hockey tunes and not
Right.
hockey tunes.
Right, right.
Square dance.
Yeah, this tune is pucked.
Oh,
Oh.
Gosh. Anyone else have questions for the band? Because I'm sure they're probably pretty tired. I don't know if they need to take off or can stay with us for the full half hour.
oh no, I'm good. We're good for the half. At least I'm
Great.
good for the half. We all drove separately, of course. So you
We're
know.
good. Alan's having a beer though.
He deserves it.
You bet. Yeah, he earned several.
He did.
I think you all earned really nice, really cold ones.
Is he not sharing with you?
He offered. He offered.
He did. But we're all driving home, so
That's right. Yeah. Well,
So it sounds to me like there's a new band that's been born. It's now AGB.
oh.
You guys want to come to Portland and call it and play a dance sometime?
Well, we sure could. Yeah.
If we could.
Yeah, Pachelbel's Bazooka came into existence actually way back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think it was back when both Anita and I and Sandy and John Danius were playing as Bag of Tricks. And KGB was playing. And at that time, the second Saturday dance in Seattle was down at the Ballard Community Center. It was co-run sort of by Phil Katz and me. And so there were two house bands, Pleasures of Home, with Vivian Williams and Stuart Williams and Phil Williams. I think, was that right? Anyway, and KGB. And then we would each play a third of the time, and then we would have a guest band. And I think there was some time when Julie couldn't be there, and Claude and I could, so Anita joined us, and I'm afraid I'm the one to blame for the name.
We could have
No,
never guessed.
I think it's great. I was going to ask you, Dave, and you guys, is a bazooka louder than a cannon?
Yeah, it has fewer ends in the word.
Or beginnings, perhaps?
Yeah.
Obviously, that was in the days before gun control laws.
That's right. Yeah, and I've noticed there's a lot of different ways people spell Pachelbel, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Well, I thought it was a takeoff on Taco Bell at first, but then, nah.
Have you ever heard, who was it? It was Christine Lavin, I think, who wrote the Taco Bell canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good.
And I really enjoyed all the stories you told about the different tunes. And
That's the great thing about a concert. You actually have time for that.
Yeah. And there could have been more, I suppose, but there's a point of no return, so, or diminishing returns. Because pretty much, well, most tunes have a story of some sort. Some of them was, I wrote this tune and I didn't have a name for it and I was desperate and so it got a name. But others have stories.
Yeah, like Hangman's jig story goes on. Hangman's real story goes on forever.
As it should. If you're doing being hanged, play it again, Sam.
That's right. And that's the news.
Oh, it's fit to print. Oh man. I didn't know we were going to get stand-up comedy as well as a concert.
Well, I'm glad you think that's comedy.
Well, you know, humor doesn't take much to be humorous these days. So thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I saw this YouTube video this morning. I think it was some of the other members of Roguery. I can't remember how it all started, but it was a cow that somebody had taken. You know how like a gaita, the Bulgarian bagpipe, is made from a sheep. And it turns out that, and yeah, the legs have chanters and drones and the blowpipe, you know.
The sheep is actually dead and
Yeah,
eviscerated.
Yeah, the
It's
sheep
just
is no longer
skin.
present
Just
for
the
it,
skin.
mercifully, but it's also
Thank God for the sheep. I mean,
Anyways, apparently, people have also taken an entire cow hide intact and stuck something like 6 drones and a chanter, and they're quite something. There's some YouTube videos.
More than one person has to play it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and Dave, what do you call that, Dave?
Arm escalation.
It's a vache cornemuse.
Yeah, or I called it a cornemuse.
Yeah.
Dave, you're just trying to pull the wool over our eyes.
That's it.
That's right.
He said
That
sheep.
was bad.
Yeah.
It's utterly impossible.
We're being cowed by the band.
And
I
the
can
toy
promise you
bagpipe I had used a latex kitchen glove for the bag, and so of course, so the mouth pipe went into the thumb. And you had to pick one of the fingers to go to the chanter, and so it was the obvious one.
You mean the obvious one, yeah.
Well, it's nice that they could have the message, no animals were harmed in the making of this bagpipe.
Thank God for latex.
This part of
Better hope that the unipiper doesn't get a hold of one of those ones made out of a whole cow.
That'd be more he can do on a unicycle, I'm afraid.
Sounds like this conversation has been milked for as much as it can be.
Your room, Woody.
Going to the sheepdog.
And the groans keep on coming.
All right, so to change the subject.
Yay!
Do we need to?
Yeah, I just want to let Claude know, I assume he knows this, but the Fats Waller videos from that movie are on YouTube. I've seen 8 Misbehavin', and I think I've seen Honeysuckle Rose, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
But you have to learn how to play with your eyebrows going up and down in order to really get the essence of the tune. If you've ever watched Fats Waller perform.
Yeah, definitely you should check it out if you haven't seen those. Those are cool.
Can I just jump in? I wanted to say hi to Claude and to Dave. This is Sherry in London.
Hi, Sherry.
London.
And
Boy, it's
yeah,
late. It's
it
late.
is late. I was up doing some work for tomorrow, and I saw Dave's Facebook post, and I thought, oh my God. And I just think over this whole lockdown crazy time that we're all having, I think one of the amazing takeaways is how we can all join in music internationally. You know, I had a birthday party and I had people on 4 continents performing, and there's concerts and amazing English music every night of the week, really being live. And now I'm thrilling to connect with you guys. Seeing this tonight was a real treat for me. So thank you.